Hello, everyone. It's Isabel Harris. Thank you for watching. Today, we're going to talk about the subject matter of forgiveness. And in life, some things might be optional, but this forgiveness issue is not optional. It is an absolute requirement, and there are grave consequences for not walking in forgiveness. And we're going to read some scriptures out of Matthew 18 that really emphasize this point. I always want to encourage you, go read these scriptures and really digest what they're saying. They are life changing. And I also want to point out that forgiveness is not a one and done. It's a continuum. We live on the earth, we get into all kinds of situations, there's all different sorts of people. It is not if we get hurt or offended, it's just when. It is going to happen. So we have to learn to extend grace and forgiveness to people and just trust God with the issue. Forgiveness is a trust issue. We have to let go and let God, as the old saying goes. So I'm going to read this whole passage and I'm going to emphasize some things. I'm going to be looking down a little bit because it's quite a long passage, but it's so important. I want to read it all and we're going to talk about it. So it's Matthew 18, verses 21 through 35. Okay, so Peter is talking to the Lord and he says, Lord, how often shall my brother sin against me and me forgive him? Up to 7 times? Peter thought he was being generous by saying 7 times a day. But here's the Lord's response: I do not say to you up to 7 times, but up to 70 times 7. Therefore, the kingdom of heaven is like a certain king who wanted to settle accounts with his servants. And when he had begun to settle accounts, one was brought to him who owed him 10,000 talents. Now, keep that number in mind. We're going to emphasize what that means here in a minute. But he was not able to pay. And so his master commanded that he be sold with his wife and children and all that he had, and that payment be made. The servant therefore fell down before him, saying, Master, have patience with me, and I will pay you all. Then the master of that servant was moved with compassion, released him, and forgave him the debt. All right, so now the story goes. So that servant went out, that person that was just forgiven. That's the picture that we owed a debt we could not pay, and Jesus paid that debt for us that he didn't owe. So that's pointing out what's been done to us by God through Jesus. Now, that guy goes out. He goes out and finds one of his fellow servants who owed him 100 denarii. So we're going to point that out in a minute, how much 100 denarii is worth in comparison to the 10,000 talents that guy owed. And he laid his hands on him and took him by the throat, saying, Pay me what you owe. So his fellow servant fell down at his feet and begged him, saying, Have patience with me, and I will pay you all. And he would not, but he went and threw him into prison till he should pay the debt. So when his fellow servants saw what had been done, they were grieved, and they came and told their master all that had been done. Then his master, after he had called him, said to him, You wicked servant, I forgave you all that debt because you begged me. Should you not also have had compassion on your fellow servant, just as I had pity on you? That do unto others thing. And his master was angry. And listen, guys, and delivered him to the torturers until he should pay all that was due him. Now think about that. So my heavenly Father also will do to you if each of you from his heart does not forgive his brother his trespasses. So right there it is. And isn't this what we do? If we think it all the way through, we know that Jesus Christ has forgiven us this huge amount of debt. So I'll shine the light on myself. I have committed so many sins. I have broken the 10 Commandments. I have done so many things. And Jesus came and forgave me all of it. Okay. And then as I'm going through life and I hit these speed bumps and I run into people that are not nice or kind or that do things that hurt me or wound me, and so that is going to happen. It's not if, remember, it's when. So how do I deal with that? Do I walk around and get mad and want justice and want vengeance and just nurse my wound constantly about how they treated me? Guilty. I've done that. I've done that. But that's what this passage is pointing out. That's what we do. We've been forgiven all this debt, but then when someone does something against us that's way less, we get mad and offended and we want to just, ream them a new one. And friends, that is not the example of Jesus Christ, and that is not what he's teaching us to do. He's actually teaching us, release them. It's not an option. If you carry unforgiveness and bitterness around, you are going to be turned over to the tormentors. So, we've all come into contact with those angry, bitter people. These are the people that are carrying a concrete block around on the inside because they will not let go of things. So this is so important. Now, back to the story where the first guy owed 10,000 talents. Well, I had to go look this up and look it up. You can look it up on Google or Yahoo, and it will clearly tell you there's several different ways to come at this value. But here's the one that I wrote down. So the 10,000 talents would basically be 160,000 years of labor. That's unpayable, just basically unpayable, right? The 100 denarii that the first guy was owed from the second guy, the 100 denarii that he was owed, that's 100 days' wages. One guy owed 160,000 years of labor. One guy owed 100 days. Think about that. The comparison. So the guy that was forgiven that astronomical amount that can never be paid back won't release the guy down here that owes something that could easily be paid back and probably in a short amount of time. And that's just showing us a picture of how we can be if we get in the flesh and we nurse our wounds and we let offenses stay around. This is what we do. This ugliness gets in our heart and we get turned over to the tormentors and we're just miserable. So it doesn't work. It doesn't work, and it's completely contrary to how Jesus is. So, there's other scriptures. I didn't want that to be the theme about, God takes care of things, but God does take care of things. He says that vengeance is his and he'll take care of things. But we just need to just set that all aside, trust him with our life, trust him with people, and he will take care of it, and we'll stay free of the torment of unforgiveness and bitterness that takes root in our heart. So I love you. I know this will bless you. Go look up as many scriptures as you can find about forgiving and to be forgiven. I love y'all. Have a great week. I'll see you on the next video.